For the final part, we're going to finish off our poster and we're going to add the pattern layer and have it look similar to this. It doesn't have to look exact. You can make your own design. So I right now have it in the preview mode. I'm just going to go back to normal mode. So right now, lock all of your layers except the pattern layer. So unlock that one. And on the pattern layer, we are going to create this triangle and then duplicate it and slightly rotate it. Now in the tutorial, it tells you to use the pen tool and you can use that method. Another method to create a triangle is simply to get the Polygon tool. So if you click and hold down where you either have the rectangle or the ellipse, then you can get the Polygon tool. Now, by clicking without dragging, and I make sure I'm on my pattern layer, then you see that it comes up and it wants to know how big and the number of sides. So I'm going to leave my number of sides at 3, and I'll just leave the width and the height as is, and I get a new triangle. If I want to scale that down proportionately, I can hold down my Shift key, and with the arrow, with the black arrow, I can scale down or scale up to the size that I want. To change the fill color on my swatches, I'm going to select one of my colors. This one we can select the rose or the deep rose, just depending on what you want. Or you might want to change it to the yellow, whatever you think looks good on yours. In the tutorial, they use the rose color. The other thing that we want to add, which you've had practice with before, we'll add a drop shadow. So that's under Objects, Effects, Drop Shadow. And for the drop shadow, we can use the neon lime. And we might want to add a little bit of noise, just a little bit of texture to that, about 10%. Once I have one of the shapes, I can place one where I want it. Now notice if I hover out to the outside corner, you should get that sort of double-headed arrow. And when you get that, if you click and drag, you can actually just rotate. You can also right-click, transform, and you can go into a rotate, and then rotate a certain number of degrees, like 20 degrees. So it's up to you how you want to do your rotation. And then once you have that, then you can just make some copies. So right click, which is your 2-finger mouse click, copy, and then right click again, paste. And once you have a copy, you can move it wherever you want to and change its rotation. So you can fill in the retro pattern of triangles however you see fit. I'm going to take off that last couple because it's getting a little bit cluttered now. Notice when I when I put them off the page, when I put them into the bleed or slightly off, so I'll take one of those and I'll move it into my bleed area. When I go into my preview mode, you'll see that it cuts off because the bleed is outside the edge of the page, but notice that that color runs right to the edge of the page. So you can move it into the bleed a bit just to create some interest. So that's the final step. Click on File, Save. And now you've learned how to use layers, create your own custom swatches. You've been able to add effects such as drop shadow. You've learned how to add a bit of noise and just a little bit of texture, and to try some different styles with fonts and also some kerning or some tracking.